Do you love this country?
Yeah.
Our country is being destroyed on purpose by someone who's a closet communist.
But does that mean if he committed a
that
crime,
means
that
we're on the edge of civil war. So we better get this country back on track because we're being destroyed.
Tell me about that. Why do you think we're on the brink of civil war?
Because our economy is being driven into the dirt. We have no energy independence. The borders are open. We are being destroyed on purpose by globalist forces that control Joe Biden. China controls Joe Biden. Foreign interests control him. The 1031 just came out today, where Hunter talked to someone who's doing a deal with.
Say that again?
The 1031. It's an FBI document. Came out today, and they were talking about how there's a witness that has recordings of talking to Hunter. Joe Biden received $5 million.
Can I ask you a question? I hear a bit of a double standard here.
Okay,
wait.
Hit me.
So you just believe, and by the way,
okay.
I think Hunter Biden should.
Did I read
one
it
second,
myself?
One second. I think Hunter Biden should be indicted. So we
Okay.
agree. I think Hillary should have been indicted. So we agree.
Now we talk.
Now, you just believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
Something came out today. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
They haven't provided the evidence yet.
Yeah.
You just believe that, but when it's flipped around and there's an indictment that comes.
Okay,
Wait.
I'm supposed to get the FBI document in my hands.
No. I'm just
supposed to read it
Let me
myself.
Let me finish. You believe just because you think Biden is Lucifer, you believe this evidence against Hunter. However, with the indictment, you're saying cockamamie. I don't need to read it. It's all planted.
I'm not. Look, I need if there's recordings, I'd like to hear those tapes.
Yes,
You will.
I would like.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to hear them.
So let me ask you:
Okay.
if during the criminal case, if they have a tape, which is authenticated, that they authenticate that this is Donald Trump, and he's on tape saying, "I want to show you this, but it's classified, and I can't declassify it," which means he had documents.
It's an admission of not being able to.
Which means he
It's
had
not
classified documents.
Yeah.
Which legally, whether you agree with the law or not, he's not entitled to have them as a former president.
Yeah.
Do you think he should not be prosecuted, even though that would be a crime, because these other people were?
Well, that would be evidence of something he did wrong. I don't think Donald Trump is an infallible creature.
Okay.
I'm not so Donald Trump that I don't think he, as a human being, can do something. We can all do something wrong. That would be not good.
Right.
Not good. That would be evidence of something that's a crime. But do I think that you can take things that are innocuous and shape them in such a way that they build the basis of a case that is supposedly criminal? That the only reason it's criminal is because they've decided to prosecute.
I thought this clip was interesting because it illustrates so many things, but from the point of view of Jordan, and he is, I would say, he's the representative of the professional managerial class. When they think Trump supporters, this is who they envision. This is who they envision. This is the boogeyman that they want to create for the left. When we say, hey, these are the workers we need to go after. Now, listen to what the guy's saying. You have the right wing, the conservatives, who is fear-mongering the opposite way. Just like Democrats fear-monger on this side, they fear-monger about a lot of things. I'm not even going to list it. They fear-monger here. They do the same thing over here. So just like all the things that to us seem normal, like everybody's worried about this, that's not what they're worried about. They have a different list of things that they're worried about. Now, some of the stuff may overlap, but because they're being propagandized in a different way, they're being propagandized that, hey, this country is great. Yeah, we've done some bad things, but for the most part, it's a great country. It's filled with freedom, and that's what we aspire to be. Then these people, poor working class whites, can't find a job, just like black and brown people in urban areas can't find decent work. The schools are falling apart. Cities are falling apart. Infrastructure's falling apart. And then when they look to the people who is propagandizing them, they're saying it's the immigrants. You see why he thinks that? But I love what Cornel West is talking about, what he wants to do, which is he wants to go and talk to these people because they have been misinformed, just like the people on the blue side have been misinformed. They've been misinformed. But the professional managerial class in Jordan, who Jordan represents here, wants all of us to believe that these people cannot be reached, cannot be talked to, cannot be reasoned with. Now, there's a certain segment, I'm sure, and that's who they always want to point to. Boogaloo Boys, Proud Boys. Okay, what about the millions of people, though? There's not millions of Boogaloo Boys. There's not millions of Proud Boys, though. This is the fight. So when they watch this, the professional managerial class is looking at, oh, look, see, this is what we do. Look how stupid they are. That's the point of view. I do see Zoya, so I'm going to bring Zoya in. Oh, actually, let me see if she said something. Okay, so Zoya is ready to go. Where do you think he's getting this information that he has from? Like, that was a lot that he said there, Zoya, and I've heard it. It sounds similar to maybe the Great Reset or something similar to it. But, like, what? This is where I want to pause it here because I want to get your reaction. What do you think? What is your reaction? I'll just leave it more open. What is your reaction to what you're hearing this Trump supporter sort of ramble off this list of things? What do you think about that?
Well, I definitely have no clue where they get the information that they get. I mean, obviously, it's anywhere between Fox News, OAN, and QAnon. So I don't know how far he is into the conspiracies, but he's not wrong about the economic struggle. And just on a human level, I really feel his pain, even though his Trump t-shirt is very distracting. But if I was just hearing a lot of what he was saying without that t-shirt, without knowing his political affiliation, he's a working class man that's clearly struggling and frustrated and desperate. And how many times have we seen fascism come in when people are desperate and communism is being suppressed? And we're living through that right now. Even in right before World War II in Germany, the Communist Party had one of the strongest organizational ground games there, but fascism came in instead. So it just emphasizes for me, again, the importance to fill this vacuum with our messaging, with our policy stances, with our revolutionary ideas, because if we don't, then fascist ideas will come in and people will be desperate enough to listen.
And that's why we have no illusions about what the Cornel West candidacy may or may not do, so we don't want to do that. But that's why I like some of the things that what he's saying, specifically when he says I'm going to Trump country. Like that specific part, I think that's what breeds a lot of fear to in his candidacy from the establishment, is that, wow, there's a candidate that's actually going to go after Trump supporters, and they're going to begin to break down the wall, or he's going to begin to break down the wall that we've built up of propaganda between these two groups. They're going to actually talk. To your point, go ahead.
Yes, that is so exciting. That is one of the things that makes me the happiest about Dr. West running, and in his interview, just his entire approach. Even when he was talking about Palestinians and Israelis, and in general, to start seeing each other as human beings. Because part of what the system does is dehumanize all of us. And that's how they get the proletariat to turn on each other. So, of course, a revolutionary act is loving each other, trying to understand each other. Of course, people have to be deprogrammed. Right now, people are very tribalized and they act like they're in a cult. It's not logical, rational thinking, but people have been deprogrammed from cult mentalities. It doesn't make them bad people. I've met and I'm a refugee to this country. I've met horribly xenophobic people that were absolutely atrocious to me. And yet they're good in other aspects of their life. Maybe they're a good husband or a good friend or a good brother. But that just happens to be their upbringing and what they were taught at home, at school. So they absorb this in their surroundings. And for those people that don't know, I'm from the USSR. And when I was there, Ukrainians and Russians lived peacefully side by side for nearly a century, intermarried, had friendships. But look at how the CIA has done this globally, but how they came into a region and exploited old tensions, fanned the flames of nationality and extremism, and this kind of destabilizing things we've seen them do in Iraq between Sunnis and Shiites. We're seeing that between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So this is not a new thing where the ruling classes benefit from dividing us, and it's unfortunately entirely too easy to get people to turn on each other.
Yeah.
And part of the healing work is love. And I know that it's been turned into this like cartoonish thing, like, oh, love, schmov, get out of here with that tree hugging stuff. But if we actually study history, it was Che Guevara's birthday yesterday. And one of his famous quotes, I might butcher it a little bit, but he said, at risk of sounding foolish, the great revolutionary is guided by a strong feeling of love. It's not verbatim, but that is basically what he said.
That's pretty close. That's pretty close. I remember the quote. Yeah.
Yeah, and he used to be a doctor that was helping the poor before he turned into a revolutionary, and it doesn't make him a flawless person. Every person we study, every person that we might look up to, they are flawed human beings, and I'm a flawed human being. I think we're all extremely flawed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But overall, we're taught that our nature is not goodness, and I disagree with that. And this is where I just love Dr. West, because I think actually we are by nature really unity creatures, and that we want to cooperate, not compete. And we see cooperation in nature, and we see cooperation in indigenous communities, and that kind of connection to each other. Yeah, sorry, CJ. That kind of connection.
No, I was just saying kids.
I was
just saying kids is another example of what you're saying. Just look to kids. You can see that is how it's supposed to be. Kids, literally, when I take my small daughter anywhere, there's a play place. It's like, I'm gonna go find a friend. That's what she says. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like an automatic thing that we are programmed out of. To your point, sorry for that. Continue, Zoya.
Yeah, no, and to that point, which is an excellent point. I'm talking to you guys live from a school right now, grades 1 through 12. I work with children, and I've said it on RBN before. Not one of them is a racist yet. Not one of them is xenophobic yet. But I'm here, and I watch them grow, because they typically stay here throughout their entire education, and I hear them start repeating things they don't even understand from home, from their parents, from the news. There's kids on their devices listening to Fox News and all this stuff. They'll run through the hall and they'll say like Biden is a communist, and just repeat stuff that they're absorbing from their environment. And they're good kids. They're good-hearted. They're good to each other, but they're the products of their environment. So at some point, we've got to ditch this punitive mentality, which I'm also an abolitionist. And we have to outreach to people. We have to give them a chance. It does not mean to put yourself in danger, because that's always the counter argument. I'm not going to endanger myself. Not everybody is a full-fledged Nazi. Very few people are actual extremists, but they might have conservative beliefs or very hateful beliefs. But that's the kind of thing, and we've seen evidence for that in history, where outreach is really the cure to this kind of ignorance.
Let's actually insert Jay also. So he can hear what you're saying here.
So basically, just the example from history of the Hollywood movie that was made, Best of Enemies, about a Black activist, Ann Atwater, and C.P. Elliott, a Ku Klux Klan president of his local chapter, and avowed racist. He wore the hood, he terrorized people, did horrible things. And then they were trying to integrate schools. So as part of the process, they hosted a charrette where they elected leaders from both communities to have this debate. And then the community was supposed to vote if they're going to integrate the schools. And Ann Atwater and C.P. Ellis obviously started as enemies, and they actually had a previous history where I believe she tried to stab him at a city council meeting. So you know how much these people hated each other. But through these 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, guys, just 2 weeks, they realized that they could reach so many people, and C.P. Elliott ended up coming to Ann Waters' side, voting to integrate the schools, denouncing the KKK, completely resigning, and you know, this is back in those days. He paid the price for that. This isn't just as easy as, you know, claiming a stance. But he did it anyways, and he joined her in her activism for Black issues, and then they would tour the country and universities to talk about their friendship and the solidarity and the commonality that they realize that they have in their working class struggle, that they're facing many of the same issues. So it is possible. It is possible. We just in America, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be insulting to anyone, but my experience is that we just analyze things in an infantilized kind of way, and through that, you know, we just put people into boxes of good and bad when it's always more nuanced. People are multifaceted. People are more complex than that, and we got to give people a chance. It's so easy to just you know, label someone something and start hating on them and start denouncing them, and I'm sure there's a satisfaction to that. You know, look at all of the rage that people express online, just coming at each other and things that they would never say in person. But the effort is worth it. You're not going to reach everybody. You definitely should never put yourself in harm's way, because I really hear that counter argument all the time that you're asking me to be in danger. No, I'm not. I'm asking you not to stand in my way while I do this work. And if you care to join me, then please do. But ultimately, we're a human family. And if we realize that we're a human family, think of how many of the problems that we have today we wouldn't, because we would all be united in solidarity, and these people could never rule us.
Like it would never happen. And Jay, I don't know how much you heard, so I'm on the video I played, so I'm gonna play the last 10 seconds again, just so you know, get the gist. But we're listening to Jordan Chariton out talking to Trump supporters, and it's about one of the first brief stories I want to cover, which is just an update on the Trump indictment. So I guess they are against him being indicted, and let's take it from that point. And so yeah.
So,
do you love this country?
Yeah.
Our country is being destroyed on purpose by someone who's a closet communist.
But does that mean if he commits
that part? That's just clearly he doesn't know what a communist is. But think about what I was saying earlier, like who is telling him that Joe Biden is a communist? And Zoya mentioned it earlier. Is it Fox News? Is it QAnon? That is completely skewing the understanding of communism, just so they can sort of create this sort of hype about it. So let me play a little more, and then I'll get your comment, Jay. So 1 second.
That means we're on the edge of civil war. So we better get this country back on track, because we're being destroyed.
Tell me about that. Why do you think we're on the brink of civil war?
Because our economy is being driven into the dirt. We have no energy independence. The borders are open. We are being destroyed on purpose by globalist forces that control Joe Biden. China controls Joe Biden. Foreign interests control him. The 1031 just came out today, where Hunter talked to someone who's doing a deal with.
Say that again?
The 1031, it's an FBI document, came out today, and they were talking about how there's a witness that has recordings of talking to Hunter. Joe Biden.
So he's basically doing what they've been doing on corporate media and on a lot of the elected Republicans. And I can take it off. He's basically saying, this is not an even-handed indictment, because there's other people on the other side that should be indicted. But what Zoya and I were more focusing on is the pain and the hurt, and you can tell what he's saying, which is what we want to tap into. But for what however you want to comment, whatever aspect of it you want to chime in on. But what are your thoughts on the video or what Joya and I have been discussing?
Yeah, I mean, so just you can tell by the words that he uses that like where his source of news comes from. It probably is like what you guys mentioned, Fox News or OAN. But the reason that propaganda works is because there are problems that are going on in this country. They're just playing it on like the wrong scapegoats. He mentioned the borders, so he's obviously framing it on undocumented immigrants and whatnot. But this is like and I think Zoe was definitely touching upon this earlier. Like this guy is definitely reachable. He just needs like better source of information, I guess. He just needs to be like de-propagandized. But he's definitely someone who on some level you could reach in some capacity or the other. Ever since the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war started, there's so many right-wingers that actually are very fervently anti-NATO and anti-imperialism, anti-war. It shocked me when I found that out. So like that's another area we could probably find some sort of common ground, because and I love how Jimmy Dore says this. He's like, okay, here's a bunch of people at an event. Okay, who is who doesn't support X? All right, get the fuck out. Who doesn't support policy Y? Get the fuck out. Who doesn't support some other third shit? But like the point was like sooner like people try to do a purity thing. They sift people further and further out until we have just a very tiny group of people that align with us. At which point we're just in an echo chamber. This is a country of 330 million people. We're not going to find people that are going to agree with us 100% of the time. We're almost never going to do that. So,
and it feels like we have to create the space for people to feel comfortable again to disagree, and it's very hard in our leftist space for people to accept that. And we accept it in our work in other aspects. It's so weird how we don't. It's like, do you not think you're at your job, you don't think you mingle with a Trump supporter? You don't think you mingle with somebody who's against abortion? You don't think you mingle with somebody who is either an atheist if you're not an atheist, or who is Christian if you are like it just is bizarre. In politics, we want to be 100% pure, and that's only people we're going to associate with. We have to be okay with people being different. There is a core understanding that makes you left. There's a core understanding, I guess, that will make you conservative, but that doesn't mean each issue you're going to agree on. That's my take on.
Yeah, and also like give people a chance to actually learn and grow. Because like 10 years ago, I was almost unrecognizable. I like a lot of people probably just like disavow me that I was.
You're almost ashamed to say.
Yeah,
we all were there at some. Well, I'm not gonna say we are. I don't know if Zoya has ever been there, but I was there too. I was there.
I mean, people know my history. Like, I mean, some of you guys do.
In this country, I'm mortified here. Jay's parents, Jay and I are obviously friends, and we have these conversations for hours, like all the time. His parents, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Jay, are Trump supporters, and so are a lot of immigrants that are doing well.
Yes,
a lot of them
noticed that here.
Yeah, so he's coming out of this conservative space. Look at where Jay is now, and only a few years ago he was working on AOC's campaign. So I know that Nick has shifted left a lot in recent years as well. I've watched a lot of people. Yeah, so if we ourselves are learning and growing all the time, how can we not give that opportunity to other people? It's just not an activist mindset. It just isn't, because the activist mindset is to reach out to proletariat. It's exactly what Lenin spoke about. Lenin said for us not to condescend. And at the time, he was talking about outreach to people who are illiterate. So you can't be on your high horse screaming, read theory, because these people can't. But he said to go into these communities and not to lecture people, but to lead by example, but by showing them communism in practice, how it works, how it serves them, to convince them through action, not through bullying, and that's what I mean by, in general, in America, the discourse, and believe me, this is by design. All of you were robbed of an education. I had plenty of education abroad. And let me tell you, we were doing algebra in first grade. You guys do not even know what your potential is, because this country is not trying to bring your potential out. Like George Carlin was saying, you know, they need you just smart enough to run the machines and just dumb enough not to know what's happening. So the analysis in this country is very infantilized, and we just don't have it in us to understand the value of education, the value of allowing people to grow. And I don't know how that's consistent, because I'm sure many of you in the audience have also shifted left throughout your life.
Yeah.
And if somebody gave you that opportunity, how can you possibly deny it to others? Why is it more important to, I mean, I get it. We're all hurting. Like, inflation's crazy. Buying food right now is hard. Putting gas in the car right now. I hear you guys. We are hurting. But we have to be careful not to just project that pain out into the world. We have to transmute the pain into energy that will actually solve these problems. Because otherwise, we're just creating more pain in the world. And we're all traumatizing each other further when the system already does enough of that.